Hi, everyone. For our project, we focused on the China floods of 1931, and our group consisted of Jack Maggio, Kailyn Kilroe, and Bowens. So causes of the flood were from 1928 to 1930, China went through a bad drought. The lack of rainfall made the rivers lower and the soils dried up. Then in the winter of 1930, there were huge snowstorms which left lots of accumulated snow, followed by extremely heavy rains in the spring. These rains melted the remaining snow and added even more water to the rivers. Also, China had been hit with heavy cyclones from the Pacific, which usually only occur twice a year. At the time, China had developed more modern farming technologies, resulting in a large increase in agriculture. Unfortunately, China also went through rebellions, wars, and political instability. As a result, the land near the river was overused, and dams meant to control the river were built incorrectly. Thus, when the crazy weather of 1931 occurred, the rivers overflowed their banks, the dams broke, and water rushed across central China, causing the flooding. The Yangtze River runs through southern China, one of the most populated areas on the earth. The region's people depended on the river for water for their personal and farming needs. In April, the river basin area received far above average rainfall. When torrential rains came again in July, the Yangtze River flooded over a 500 square mile area. The rising waters drove 500,000 people from their homes by the beginning of August. Rising temperatures due to climate change had a direct effect on the severity of floods in China. The increased temperatures caused heavier rainfall, which caused the already flood-prone rivers in China to flood even more drastically. This is in part caused by the heavy urbanization of China, which leads to increased global warming from pollution.
The China floods had a big impact on the rice fields, which dominated the landscape and were swamped, destroying the crops. Major cities such as Wuhan, Nanjing depended on this rice, and without it, people in the cities starved to death. In addition, typhoid and dysentery were rampant due to the polluted river. The millions who died from this flood perished from starvation and disease, and many others after the flood waters had receded. It also had a major impact on the Chinese economy and its businesses, as prices for crops and other resources spiked due to the scarcity of crops. The flood may have been a disaster for humans, but it created excellent ecological conditions for other species. Frogs and turtles swam into inundated homes, while one similarly became a home to a whole flock of different ducks.
Much of the disaster may have been averted if flood control measures had been followed closely. The Yangtze carries large amounts of sediment, which accumulates in certain areas of the river and must be cleared regularly. However, with much of the area's resources devoted to civil war at the time, the river was neglected, as we said before. China boasted a proud tradition of charitable activity, with philanthropists often funding services that were vital to the survival of disaster-stricken communities. In 1931, the business community in Wuhan raised a substantial fund for flood relief. Some of this money was used to construct a wooden walkway, allowing pedestrians to wobble over the flooded streets. Funds were also used to sponsor rice porridge kitchens, boats to distribute boiled water, and crews to dispose of corpses. In the aftermath of the flood, the NFRC raised money, and particular praise was reserved for the monumental labor relief project, in which over 1 million workers were employed to reconstruct almost 2,000 kilometers of dams throughout the first half of 1932. These are the sources we used for our research, and thank you for watching our presentation on the China floods of 1931.